How's it going? This is Andrew Sabin interviewing Desmond Miller
Yes.
for the American Legion Post 21 and for our YouTube channel, as well as for any other outlets that we're able to get them. Um, can you tell me about where you were born?
Born and raised in Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan. Who are or were your parents, and what are their occupations?
My father worked at a Chrysler automotive plant. My mother, a nurse.
Okay. Do you have any siblings?
Yes, one sister, and she joined the Navy, and she's a veteran.
Did she join before you or after you?
After me.
Nice.
Mhm.
And what is her name?
Her name is LaWanda.
Okay. And you said she served in the Navy?
Yes.
Okay. And what were your parents or siblings' feelings about when you joined the service?
My mother was a little nervous, and my sister, she's about 6 years younger than me. She was fine with it.
Was it just because she didn't know about what to expect, or?
Just traveling was different, being from an area where your child is going to have the opportunity to go to different places around the world. I'm sure for any parent would make them nervous.
Of course. What primary or secondary schools or college did you attend?
Primary was Lake County and Southern Illinois University. Both of them are in Illinois.
And you went to college after you used the GI Bill?
I went to college somewhat while I was in the Navy on shore duty, and then some college afterwards.
Well, it's good you were able to take advantage of that while you were in service.
Most definitely.
Because sometimes you're so busy with your job as it is, it can be kind of hard to juggle college and the military as well. What kind of job did you hold prior to joining the military?
Prior, I graduated high school at the age of 17, so I was pretty much customer service at a deli I worked at for a number of years before my high school senior year and graduation. And then after I graduated, I went into the military.
Okay. Can you tell us when you went into the military?
1992. Went in February.
Why did you join?
I joined the Navy because it had the opportunity to travel the world, and I had some good mentors when I was in high school that were in the Navy Junior ROTC.
Nice. Did you participate at all in the Junior ROTC?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, 4 years.
Nice.
So some of my counterparts or people around my age were in the sports and those type of clubs, and I was in the ROTC.
Now, being in the ROTC, does that give you rank when you join the Navy as well?
It did. You started off as an E3, nice. But what was interesting about it, because we were a Navy Junior ROTC, I was able to go to boot camp for a week each year.
Oh, really?
At the Navy base. So
okay.
I was pretty much, I understood what I was getting into as far as being a recruit and learning the different things as a military person from a young man.
Nice. What or who did you leave behind when you left to serve the military?
Just parents. I didn't have any kids at the time.
Okay. And you joined the Navy, you said?
Yes.
Why did you said you chose the Navy so you could see the world and whatnot?
Definitely to travel.
Did any other branches sound enticing, or were you dead set on Navy?
No, Navy was about what I was gunning for, so
okay.
That worked out fine for me.
Did you get lucky enough to have any bonuses when you signed up? Or?
That wasn't a thing during my time frame.
How did you get to where you went to before they sent you over to the Navy? The initial point of entry.
MEPS.
Yeah.
MEPS was in Michigan, and that was like just a day of them seeing if you were physically fit.
Right.
And prior to that, I had to, we would run with a recruiter so we could do some PT and things of that nature. So.
Was MEPS that far away from where you were from originally?
Not far, maybe 40 minutes, and we spent the night over
okay.
at a hotel, and then we went to the exam.
Now, when you went to MEPS, were you nervous or did you fully know what you were getting into and didn't really have any anxiety from joining?
No anxiety.
Okay. All right. What type of training or schooling did you have in the military?
I went to a C school, and it was for a dental assistant, so they called them dental techs.
Okay. And that was your MOS, your job while you were in?
Yes.
Okay. And those were on the vessels as well?
Yes, that was my first duty station on the ship, and we had a dental clinic on the ship. We had 5 operatories, and we did all of the dental procedures, from regular fillings to surgery.
What made you want to get into dental?
That was what was available for me because corpsman wasn't available, so I
Okay.
took the next best thing.
And that's what you really wanted to join as a corpsman?
I wanted to, yes. My
Okay.
mother was a nurse, so I wanted to go in the healthcare field.
Did you ever change your MOS at all while you were in?
No, I just stayed with that.
Okay. All right. What is your most vivid memory of when you were in training?
Most vivid memory was just being around different people from all over the country for extended amount of time. Usually when we would do the 1 week tour when we were in high school, we were around kids for just a week, but being with kids for 8 weeks was a lot different. And then it was a mix of also 18-year-olds to people that were in their 20s or late 20s.
And how long did you say your basic training was?
Basic training was 12 weeks.
And your AIT schooling was
That was 2 months,
2 months?
2 or 3 months.
Do you have any parts that were really bad that were when you were training? The worst part?
No, it was just fast paced.
Go
So that
fast.
was the first time I was introduced to rapid learning.
Okay. How did you adjust to basic training and AIT?
Basic training, I think you just learn to go with the flow,
Mm.
and that worked out good for me once I understood that. And then you're introduced to be around people that may not get things at a certain time frame. You have to be patient.
Right. Did you help teach other people in basic or anything to try to help them understand your
No, I
job?
was at the age where I just try to, just make do and try to push through myself.
Make it from day to day. Does a particular instructor stand out in your mind?
No, I think they were okay. I think as being an older adult, you understand more about leadership, and I think for their age group, I think they did a good job.
Now, when you're going through training, did you have an initial idea that you wanted to make a career out of it, or did you just wanted to go and see how your initial contract was to depend on if you wanted to make it a career or not?
Definitely wanted to see how my first contract was.
Did that go smoothly, or did that go have its little ups and downs?
It was I would say a learning experience because you learn different techniques and you begin to have different experiences and different exposure around different people and different job scenarios. So once I understood that sometimes you can be in a part where the military leadership, one link, if it's a link that's off, be it the person that's in charge, the officer, or the highest enlisted person, if one of those two are off, then you probably could have a not pleasant tour. So I understood that quickly.
Now, when you're with your particular job, were you only allowed on certain ships due to needing certain equipment, or did they put you on? Was it very flexible with other ships?
Yeah, we only could be on larger ships. So I was on an aircraft carrier.
Carry.
Mm-hmm.
Were you impressed by the operations that we're having with planes and whatnot?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I was on a ship with 5,000 people, and the ship's company was about 3,000. So then once we went out to sea for a long term, then you had an extra 2,000 people. So in our working environment, as far as dental, we had 20 people that was in our division, which is one of the smallest. So some divisions could have, like, say, 500, 600 people. So mine's only had 20, so definitely is a learning experience.
So did you spend most of your time down below the deck, or were you able to get up above every once in a while?
Every once in a while, but out to sea, mostly our job was inside the ship.
I've seen documentaries and stuff about how the bunks are on those vessels, and it seems like they're kind of small. Did you have that experience as well?
Well, I was a lot smaller then. I was 18, so yeah. I think it's decent if you're under 6 feet tall, then it's comfortable.
Okay. And did they have like the curtain going across too?
Yes, that was your privacy,
Yeah.
that curtain.
Okay. So your first assignment after basic training did you go directly onto a ship, or did you have land time first?
I went to a ship first, and then after that, I went to shore duty.
Okay. Did you ever come across Great Lakes, or was that anywhere in training, or?
Boot camp was first Great Lakes, and then I went to California on a ship, and then I came back to Great Lakes.
Okay. Uh, Outside of dental training, did you receive any other kind of specialized training?
No, that was it.
Okay. Now, did you have an interest in doing that when you got out of the military as well?
Oh, I work at a dental clinic now, but I work on the admin side. But I
Okay.
work at the same boot camp base that I was in when I was in the Navy.
Nice. And that was, did you say that was Great Lakes? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
I would still work at Great Lakes now.
So that's not too far of a drive then.
No.
All right. All right. Did you qualify with any kind of equipment outside of your MOS?
So as far as equipment, it's just different procedures. So I can work in all different fields of dental. So you have everything from surgery to prosthetics to taking x-rays. So I can do all of that.
Now, with your basic training, did you get were you able to use other kind of weapons outside of like the M16?
We didn't use weapons. Was pretty much just boot camp. Yeah, we didn't
Okay.
use any weapons on the ship.
No grenade launchers or AT-4s?
No.
Let's see here. What was the hardest part of training?
Hardest part of training, like I said, just getting to understand and be patient with others.
Now, did you have tests like every week, or did you do like your training and then it was more hands-on? Or?
Yes, the training was, you would learn a subject. You pretty much had like 3 or 4 days to test out of a subject, and then on to the next subject.
And if you failed a certain amount of tests, did you have to change your MOS then?
Not change the MOS, but just it was, you were given more time to study, but you understood the seriousness of, you only have a certain amount of time to get things done. So
Now, did the instructors, were they helping you study as well, or was it very like separated, where you went to school and then you went to like your dorms? Or?
yes, we had enough time to study after hours.
Okay. Did you receive any promotions?
I did. I was E5, a second class petty officer
Nice.
by the time I got out.
Now, how hard was that to make E5?
We had a test, and then we also were evaluated on our work performance, and then you're judged compared to people who have the same amount of time in service as you, that's doing the same type of job. And then depending on how many people get out of the Navy or get promoted, then you would move up. So
And you went before a board or with a senior?
it was no board, it was just all test results.
Okay. Did
So-
you have points as well, like the Army does? Or?
Yes, points from different, if you had an award, those points could go towards your test, and then that test you can move up.
Now, for E5, for your MOS, were the points comparatively higher or lower compared to other MOSs?
It's pretty much a waiting game. If you've been in for 3 years versus somebody that's been in for 6, they may have more points. And then as you go up in points and up in time, then you're next on the pecking order.
Okay. And were there any automatic promotions in your time, or?
Yes, those were, like, say, really top performers.
Okay.
would get those.
All right. What was the hardest part of the military lifestyle for you to adapt to?
Uh, just learning different leadership styles and having to adapt under their their focus.
Was it hard to be away from home, or were you able to contact your family pretty
Uh,
frequently?
it was challenging being away from home, but I think, after a while you get to understand that you have a job to do.
Now, on a ship, were you able to call back home, or did you have to wait till you're at port to do so?
At that time, there was no cell phone, so definitely we had to wait until we got into port, and we would go to landlines,
Okay.
and then everybody would make a phone call.
Okay. What was the easiest part of the military lifestyle to adapt to?
The easiest part uh, to adapt to was not having to work on the weekends.
Oh, that would have been nice.
Oh yes.
So in the military, at least with my branch, we would go to the field for a certain period of time. Did you have any kind of experience like that where you would do extra like training, like out in the field, or was there more like a sustained training out on the vessel? Like, did you have more training operations while you were out at sea, or was that more strictly land based?
Our training was, we would be out to sea for more extended days when we did training, but our job would still be the same regardless if we were out to sea or in shore, just treating patients.
Okay.
So some training days we would be out to sea for 2 weeks, and then if we were out on a deployment, we would be away from the States for 6 months.
Mm.
And then if we're out to sea during those 6 months, it would go by the longest duration of days. So the most that I've ever was out to sea without seeing land was 35 days.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. And you said you served at Great Lakes. Were how many different ships did you serve on while you were in the military?
I was just on one ship.
Just the one? Okay. What are your memories of that experience of being out at sea versus being out at land?
Being out to sea is totally, it's like an island out on itself. You learn how to depend on the people that you're with. They call them shipmates, but yeah, you learn how to depend on the different departments that support you, and you definitely can see how a team's supposed to work together.
Now, did you get any training with the weapons on the deck, like defensive weapons, like say the machine guns or anything like that?
No.
So there wasn't any period where they would say, "All right, we're going to train you on these just in case we ever see anything that is negative," I guess.
No, just those certain jobs that who dealt with, like say, gunnery type items, then they were just only work with that.
All right. Well, at least you were able to concentrate more on your job and not have to
most
worry about
definitely.
going up and doing different jobs that you weren't
Yeah.
necessarily trained for or had more experience with. Let's see here. And you did a deployment for how long? You said 6 months?
I did 2 deployments for 6 months, times 2.
And where did you go in any certain areas during your deployments, or was it just a general spending time at sea? Did you go to like certain ports or do a defensive ops?
Well, we went on what was called a Westpac, and we would see different countries on that part of the world. So, like Singapore, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Korea.
Now, did you get to spend time in those areas, or did you spend more of your time on the ship?
Yes, when we got off the ship, it was like for 5 days, and then we had to come back on, and then we would go back out to patrol a certain area.
So what would they call that in Navy, like Freedom Pass or something?
That was called Westpac, but when a ship goes out to sea or for a deployment, then you're in what they call a battle group. So a battle group could consist of probably about 20 different type of ships, including submarines. And at any time in the world, you'll have different battle groups that's patrolling the world. and when one comes in, another one goes out to replace that one.
Okay. So they all kind of protecting each other.
They all
and were
rotate.
part of a big
Rotate.
mission.
Yes.
Now, when you departed for Westpac, were you able to wear civilian clothes, or did you have to stay in your Navy?
Oh no, you're in uniform.
Okay.
Yep, you're
Okay.
in uniform.
And I'd imagine they put strict regulations on what you can do and what you can't do, kind of a thing.
Oh, it's understood.
Okay.
Once you're out to sea, as far as, and also when you're visiting different ports.
Okay. All right. Let's see. What kind of friendships and camaraderie did you have while you were serving, and with whom?
Oh, I've had a few good people that took care of me, as far as older military personnel, and then some that was my same age group. They really looked out for me, so that was refreshing, because we didn't have the such things as social media
Right.
and cell phones, so relying on each other was a plus.
Now, deployments were up to 6 months, or could they have been extended longer than that, depending on what's going on?
It could depend longer if there was like some need in the world that we had had to stay out to show a presence.
Okay. Now, with the friendships that you have, do you still keep in contact with those people?
I keep in contact with a few.
Okay. How did you stay in touch with your family and friends? You said you went to port and had to call them that way?
Mostly it was letters, writing letters, and then also when you had the opportunity to call, you would call. But at that time, since we didn't have cell phones, you had to get a calling card, scratch the card, and get the code, and so it was a lot of work involved in the calling, and then the rates was different then as far as long distance calls. So you kind of didn't make that a habit. You would just write letters.
So did they do it this way, where you got like 100-minute one, and then you made the first phone call, and that they only gave you like 30 minutes?
Yes. Subtract as you talk.
So how long did it take for letters to get back and forth when you were out at sea?
So all of our mail would go to so since I was stationed in California, all of the mail would go to a certain part in California, and then from there, all the ship's mail would get mailed to a certain, the nearest facility out to sea, and then from that area, they would get picked up and mailed and brought onto the ship.
Flown in?
Flown in, so it was kind of sophisticated.
Okay. What did you do for recreation when you were off duty?
Off duty, when I was at sea, of course, go to the gym, play basketball. We would actually play basketball out to sea on the hangar bay. Other than that, when we would pull in, I would take advantage of going on different tours that was available.
Now, of all the places that you were able to be, you said Westpac?
Yes.
Which one was your favorite?
The favorite, I would say, would have been Saudi Arabia, because I had the opportunity to ride a camel in the desert.
How was that experience?
Oh, it was pretty cool.
So how hot was it when you were there?
It wasn't anything that I would deem as uncomfortable, because when we're on the ship, we don't have air conditioning all the time. So I guess my body was regulated to, 80 degrees, 90 degrees. That's not a problem.
Was there anything else you were able to do while you were in Saudi Arabia?
Other than that, seeing how the different cultures would fix their food or their different dietary dishes.
Was there any kind of food you liked in particular while you were in Saudi Arabia?
I couldn't remember any of the names, but they all were pretty different for a young man to taste.
Do you recall any particularly funny things or unusual things that you experienced while you were in?
As far as I would say just the people. You have the opportunity to be around different people from different parts of the country, and some of their mannerisms is kind of amusing, when you think about it.
Was there anything you did for good luck?
Good luck. Definitely pray.
Mm.
That's about it.
So would you call yourself a spiritual person or
Oh,
religious?
most definitely.
Okay. Now, when you were in the service, did that strengthen your spirituality or your religious beliefs?
Yes, I think so because you have a lot of time with yourself and you have a lot of time to reflect because you don't have a lot of, like, say, distractions.
Mm. What was the best part of your service?
Best part of the service, I would say the experience
Mm.
of seeing different things at a younger age and having the opportunity to appreciate them a little bit more as I become older.
And how long was your contract for? How long did you stay in?
7 years.
7 years. Uh, why did you decide to get out at 7?
I was one time I was in a gym playing basketball with a older person, and this person was a high enlisted person, and I was on the fence if I should stay in or not. And I asked or the gentleman at the time, I'll say young man because I'm older than him now, but he was in his late 30s about to retire. And I asked the gentleman, he was a senior chief, I asked him, if you were my age, would you get out or would you stay in? And before he could answer, I had the assumption that he was well accomplished in the Navy, so he probably would have said, hey, stay in, you know, get your pension, see a little bit more, get more rank and all those things. But he told me the exact opposite. He said if I had it to do all over again, I would have gotten out because I didn't have the opportunity to enjoy life as far as with my family. And those family ties were broken because he stayed in the military and he accomplished all of those things. And he talked about how the broken relationships that he had with his ex-wife and his kids was something that was a regret to him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when you're military. It can be pretty hard maintaining family relationships, being married, staying happy because you're constantly doing different things, and your significant other is either at home by themselves or with children. So it
Right.
can be pretty hard to have the family military life like that. Do you recall the day your time in the military ended?
Yes, it was pretty much, I was finishing up with all of the, I would say, mentees, and I was letting them know, hey, do well and giving them good pep talks as far as to keep going after the goals. But for me, I got out of the Navy, like say on a Friday, and I was starting back to work on 2 weeks later. And I was just at a different clinic on base. So my time away from the military was very short-lived. So I would say I've been a part of the military for most of, I would say all of my adulthood. 2 weeks I was back as a civilian, but I was a government service employee then.
That's a pretty quick turnaround.
Oh, yes, yes.
Is there anything you miss about the military?
Missed about the military, I would say the opportunity to travel, but I think now with technology and the way that things are set up, there's no excuse not to travel now.
And you got out of the military and you went to, you said Great Lakes, or?
Yes, I was stationed at Great Lakes, and then I just decided to work on the civilian side. So
Okay.
2 weeks later, instead of being in the wearing a uniform, I was in civilian clothes.
Okay. Now, do you plan on doing that until you retire, or?
More than likely, yes.
Okay.
So I've been affiliated with the military for 29 years. I'll probably do another 15, 16.
Nice. So when you got to the Great Lakes, did you get any chance to go back home when you got to Great Lakes, or?
Yes, I would take leave and go visit family. Family is 5 hours away.
So family's still in Detroit?
Yes.
Okay. Are you able to go as often as you like, or is it kind of tough?
It's not tough, but I go home when need be.
Yeah, 5 hours is a little bit long drive there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm busy here, so.
Of course. How were you received by your family and community when you got out?
They were shocked that I had got out and didn't make 20 years, but I think they understood that I wanted to do a few different things
Mm.
So they understood.
How did you readjust to civilian life?
Oh, very well.
Did you go to work or back to school? When you got back to Great Lakes, did you go back to schooling as well in addition to being working for the government?
Yes, I was doing both.
Okay, and that was for dental,
Well, then I was just going for
healthcare.
healthcare management.
And how long were you in school for?
Another 2 years.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that an associate or was that a bachelor's?
Bachelor's.
Bachelor's.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do any other education besides that?
No.
Okay. Did the GI Bill fully support your education?
Yes.
All right. How did the service change you?
The service changed me as far as being more open to different cultures and being more knowledgeable about American affairs.
Mm. Made you more disciplined?
I had that before I came in the military.
Okay. And you continue talking to people that you were in the military for? Did you continue your friendships?
Yes.
How did your service affect the way you relate to others?
I would say comparable.
Mm.
I would say comparable. I try not to. Most people wouldn't even know I was in the military because I don't mention it. But I don't try to get any advantage by saying I was in the military. But I do. But I am more watchful for those who don't have some of the military traits.
And when did you decide to join the American Legion?
American Legion, probably about 2 years ago, I was volunteering with the Toastmasters, and they were looking for a volunteer judge. And then when I went to the American Legion, then that's when I met a few guys when we were doing the oratorical contest. And I didn't know a lot about different organizations as far as what I thought about a military organization after hours. I thought it was just guys that hung out. I didn't know that they actually did things in the community. So that was an eye-opener to me.
I've heard about Toastmasters before. Can you tell me more about what they do?
Toastmasters is an organization that helps people, helps and encourage them on speaking and how they talk in front of others and how they share their thoughts in an oral way.
Okay. And you said you belonged to the American Legion for how long?
Probably about maybe 3 years.
Okay. And did you ever decide that you wanted to take any kind of leadership roles within the American Legion, or were you more happy behind the scenes?
I could do both. I could do both. But I did volunteer for a position as far as treasurer because I've had some experience with handling money, and I thought that would help.
Yeah, I noticed you took on the role of finance.
Yes.
Is that something that they offered you, or did you offer to go into it?
Well, the outgoing person decided that he didn't want the job anymore, and I guess he seen me coming to the meetings on a regular basis and asked me if I would help out in that role. But also I've helped out in that role with the museums, so I was comfortable either way.
Okay. Do you have any reunions with your military service?
No, I have not as of yet.
All right. How did your military service experiences affect your life?
Military experiences, I think they were cornerstone because I've had the opportunity to shape my views, and they're something that carried on from teenage years all the way up until now.
Okay. What are some of the life lessons you learned from the military service?
Life lessons that if you're resourceful, you can get ahead.
Is there anything else you want to talk about as far as your military service?
Military service, I would say that I had two funny stories that I learned as far as being in the military. When I first got to a ship, the older gentleman They were called petty officers. And the newer people that would come to the ship, they were called booters. So when we come to the ship, they said, hey, I want you two guys, it was me and another one of my younger shipmates, I want you guys to make the coffee for us. And, you know, I responded to him, I don't drink coffee, so I guess the next guy is going to have to make coffee. So he pretty much said, no, you two guys are going to make the coffee because you're the newest, new young guys. So I repeatedly told him, hey, I'm not making any coffee. Somebody else is going to have to make the coffee. And my shipmate decided to make the coffee every morning for the crew. And later on, he was given all of the favors because he made the coffee. Now, what I didn't understand was that in life, sometimes when you're the young guy or you're the new guy, there's some things you're going to have to do as far as initiation.
Right.
Now, I was from Detroit. I looked at that as a negative thing that, you know, it was like a type of initiation I wasn't, you know, too fond of. So I didn't get some of the favors because I didn't make the coffees. So, you know, that was just a lesson that I learned. Not saying I would have made the coffee now. I still don't drink coffee to this day because that's one of the reasons why I don't drink coffee besides the taste of it. So that's a great story that I like to share. And then the other story that I like to share with people is when I tell them that when I became a part of the American Legion, even though I worked in government service for almost 30 years, I didn't know that I was considered a veteran. I thought that I was a person that served in the military, and of course, you know, left with honorable service, but I didn't quote unquote know that I was a veteran. I was under the impression that a veteran was someone that was disabled or was an older person after 20 years. So when I got out after 7 years, I thought veterans was like those other guys. Being a part of the American Legion, I found out, man, I'm a veteran? I didn't know that. So I tell people that, you know, it's okay to ask questions so you can get the right information.
Mm-hmm. Is there any advice you'd give to the next generation for those who are thinking about joining up?
Those that's thinking about joining, I would tell them to be more open when they're starting, and especially as far as looking at things from a leadership point of view, because leaders in the military are usually the type of leaders that I would say get their leadership from their predecessor, and then they'll take a little bit and they'll add it to it, and then it just gets passed down. So I call that passed down leadership. And I would tell them not to get discouraged by that, because when your opportunity to become a leader, you can be a better leader. You don't have to follow in someone else's footsteps. So that's the first thing that I would try to implore to them to keep in mind.
If you could live things over again, would you have joined the military lately with how things have changed, or would you rather have decided to join when you did join?
I would probably say I would join then, because I hadn't had much exposure. And I think when you have a lot of exposure in life, it changes your viewpoint. So because I had less exposure coming straight from high school, I was more adaptable. But now, with technology, you can pick up your phone, you can just type in the actual word you're looking for, and you can find all of the resources and the study material for that word. Back then, it was pretty much you had to get an encyclopedia and look things up. So I think with technology now, people have more flexibility on the ways that they can be the person that they want to be. But I would say now that I'm older, I'm big into personal development. But when I was younger, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Now, would you join the same MOS that you joined, or were there other jobs that you were thinking of joining?
The other jobs that were available were engineering jobs, and those jobs I knew were very physical, so I I would probably would have stayed with whatever was not as physical.
And you would have stayed with the Navy. You wouldn't have thought about other branches.
For me, I felt the Navy was more suitable because I would be able to see different places in a shorter amount of time.
Hmm. Now, as wrapping up our interview, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you very much for having you. And we're out, Jason.